What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lexie. I'll put my Instagram up above. But today it is currently a Saturday. I'm getting ready to drive to Orlando, which is about an hour, 15-minute drive for me if I don't get stuck in traffic. I have a client competing as well as one of my best friends. They're competing at a show in the bikini division, so I hope to get a little bit of vlog footage there, but essentially I'll be staying for prejudging and finals, so I'm just gonna have this really big gap during the day. So I'm kind of packing up. I'm bringing my computer because technically it's a rest day for me, so I really will not have to train, and that's normally what I do if I had that gap in the day. So I'll probably end up going to Starbucks and just working, fine by me, but I'm getting ready to leave. I'm in the middle of getting ready and I have to show you guys. Look at this sports bra. Isn't it so cute? It says Coach Lexie. It has the Team Pro Physique logo, which is the company I work for. And yeah, I love it. And I got this from Angel Competition Bikinis. I designed it with them, but I'm super excited to represent at this show. But I'm gonna start this vlog. I'm gonna hopefully get some vlog footage of behind the scenes at the show since I personally have a client competing. And then I also wanted to continue out this vlog and talk about my personal first prep because I did my prep in a dorm room. And so a lot of you guys have been asking me to talk about that. So I figured while I'm going to a show, it's in Orlando. My first show was in Orlando. I might as well talk about it in this video. So stay tuned for that and I will catch you guys in a little bit.
If I can have 78 step forward and come back between 79 and 65. And 77, 81, slide down, please.
Okay, friends, so I suck. I did not film anything except that clip that you guys just saw from the show, but I find that like sometimes you just gotta live in the moment, and I was in full coach mode at the show, and to me that comes first. I'm sorry it comes first before YouTube. I love you guys, but when I was there, I wanted to make sure I was fully there for my client and all of that, but it was a great show. But I just want to let you guys know I kind of slacked on getting content. But good news is we've got some fun stuff planned for the rest of this video. I'm really gonna talk about my experience prepping in a dorm room. And then I also do wanna talk about something, I think I wanna talk about something that I've never really shared before. It has a lot to do with that time of my life when I prepped for my first show. So stay tuned, I'm gonna make something to eat, but I will catch you guys in a bit. Stay tuned because the good stuff is coming. Okay, you guys, so story time one, please disregard my messy apartment. I'm in the middle of making some food, well I was, but story time one for the first time I ever competed. So I mentioned that I competed for my first time ever. As a freshman in college, I did my whole prep in my dorm room, which I'll talk about more in a sec, but I wanted to show you guys my first suit because I just found it and I still have it, yes. And it is an Angel Competition Bikinis suit. So I work for Angel now. I'm a sponsored athlete with Angel, but flashback to 4.5 years ago, I actually bought my first suit from them. So I've been using them ever since I started out, but I wore this blue suit. It's so pretty. It really is pretty and it's still in perfect condition. So I'll put an original stage shot from my first ever show up above. Do not judge. I did not know what I was doing with my posing. I was clearly very lean, but I just didn't know how to pose. I would stick my stomach out, but we learn, right? We learn, we move on. But I wanted to show you guys my suit because I just came across it. But I'm gonna go more into depth about my first prep, and you guys stay tuned because I still look back and I'm like, I don't even know how I did it. How did I prep in a dorm room? And it was not a good dorm room either. Sorry, jumbled of words there. But it was not a good dorm room. It was a triple where it was a room with 3 beds. We had a suite, we had suite mates, so we shared a bathroom with the girls next door. It was interesting, but I'm gonna talk to you guys a little bit about it soon, so stay tuned. Okay, friends, so now for the part of the video I'm super excited about. So I've gotten asked a few times, I've vocalized on Instagram or put a poll up and I'm like, hey, does anybody want to hear about my experience prepping in a college dorm room? Or I've just it's come up in conversation or in posts before, and I've had some people that are like, yes, please talk about it because I think sometimes I do get asked, like I have some followers who are students, who are college students, and they'll ask me like, how is it possible? Or do you think it's possible to prep while being in school and managing everything else? And first and foremost, 100% yes, I think it's absolutely possible. You know, and I mean, I'm saying that partly because like I'm living proof, and I didn't think it was like, at the time, it didn't feel like it was overly difficult. Was it difficult? Yes, absolutely. But was it something that I felt like was near impossible every day? Absolutely not. But more specifically, as I kind of elaborated to earlier, I did my first contest prep for a show when I was a freshman in college. Therefore, I lived in a dorm room. And those of you that are familiar, which probably not many of you guys are, I would not expect you to be familiar with this dorm room, but the University of Tampa has a dorm room called Austin Hall. I will try and find a picture and put it up here above. From the outside, it looks kind of normal. And unfortunately, I don't think I have any pictures of the actual room, but I do have a picture, I know, of me sitting on my bed right after I moved in. So I'll put that up here for you guys to see. But this was in 2018, but I lived in this dorm. It was a triple. It was the only, and I still think it is currently the only dorm on the campus that has rooms that are triples, meaning it is literally like a bedroom. My parents and my sister called it a shoebox, and it had 3 beds, 3 twin beds, 3 desks, and we had a bathroom that we shared with our next door suite mates. So it was literally a bedroom with like that I was living in with 2 other girls. So downside to that was there was no kitchen. I did have my own microwave and my own fridge. My bed was like propped very high, so I was able to keep my microwave under there, and also my fridge. But that leaves you to probably assume there was no kitchen. And it was just a very small space in general. We'll put it that way. When you think about 3 college girls, like all of our belongings, all of our clothes, all of my food, like all of that stuff, it was just very cramped. So I had this bright idea that I was gonna compete for the first time. And let me preface this by saying, you know, I'm gonna talk about my experience prepping in a dorm room and how it was a little less than ideal, but by no means, please do not take this as, oh my gosh, poor me, like poor Lexie, because to be honest, I was choosing to do this, right? Like I had the idea to prep. I did not have to prep. I think this is a fun story though for me to tell back, because I think back and I'm like, oh my God, how did I do it? Because I've now since then prepped in my actual apartment, and I'm like, how did I do it back in the day? But you know, first prep, I had decided to hire a coach, and it was my spring semester as a freshman, because my first show was actually the Orlando Europa, which I'll put a picture up here, but I have my trophy from my first show ever. Actually, I got 4th place, and they handed out trophies. But anywho, I started prep, I believe in like January, and I essentially did not have a car either, so I couldn't just like drive to the grocery store. So thankfully there were 2 grocery stores like within walking distance of the campus. However, we live in Florida and it's hot, and also when you're in prep, like walking far distances is not always very fun. And plus I would walk to the grocery store and have to like carry all my groceries back in my backpack and all that. But I did go to the grocery store and get some of my food at the grocery store, but those of you guys who have been to college know that usually they require a meal plan. So typically if you live on campus, you are required by the university to buy like a certain number of meal swipes that you use every week in the cafeteria. So I did have to have one of those. Did I use it very often? No, but I did learn that I could easily go down and load up on the salad bar stuff and take that back to my room, because they did offer to-go boxes. So I would do that. So during prep, rather than completely just wasting my meal plan, because you know, the cafeteria served things like pizza, pasta, like a bunch of food that like I just would not have been able to track, right? So they did have a salad bar though, thank goodness, that had a ton of produce, mainly veggies. They had things like chickpeas, tofu. I remember they had those and I really loved those. But essentially, I would take my little to-go box and I would cram that thing full. Like I'm talking cram it full of like spinach, tofu, chickpeas, all the other veggies that were available. Sometimes they had fruit, but I would literally load my little to-go box full of that stuff, and then I would take it back to my room, and then I'd kind of disassemble, and then that way like I could just use each of those food as ingredients on their own. I knew they were like raw ingredients, so it wasn't like the cafeteria had put, you know, oil or butter on them. So those were easy for me to track, right? I would even go as far to take, like, you would get a cup to fill up at the water fountain or the drink fountain. When you would, you know, get your to-go box, you got a cup as well. I would actually put spinach in my cup. I would stuff spinach in my cup. Like, I was determined to get as much food as possible back to my dorm room. So I used that, but I also had certain days each week, like 2 days a week, where I would say, okay, I'm gonna go to the store, I'm gonna get things like, you know, chicken, condiments, whatever else I needed, right? And, you know, like I mentioned before, we did not have a kitchen in this little triple room. So you may be wondering, well, how did you cook this food? Because as a college student, like, I didn't have all the money in the world to be spending on a meal prep service or going to the store and getting like everything that was already pre-made. Like, that stuff's more expensive, right? So I would get like raw chicken and tilapia or whatever it was at the grocery store. And thankfully we did have a community kitchen for the whole dorm building. So I mean, for how many people were in the dorm building, like one kitchen, like that's not a lot at all. But I was able to sneak in there like twice a week. I would take all my supplies down, like my food and my pans and all of that, and I would meal prep. And the downside was the kitchen was absolutely disgusting because apparently nobody in college knows how to clean up after themselves. So usually I'd go in there and there was like sauce splattered everywhere. There was like gross food in the sink. It was just gross. But I got by, and I was always really happy when I was able to get in there and there wasn't anybody else in there cooking, because there were some times where I would go in there and there were people like in there cooking like a dinner or cake or whatever it was, and I'm just like, I'm just here to prep my chicken or my tilapia. People would always give me looks, but I didn't care at that point. So that's how I prepped my food, is in that community kitchen. The only other downside to that though was that the community kitchen was oftentimes locked. Like, I don't know, the door would shut and it would just lock itself. So when that happened, I would have to call campus safety, wait for them to come and unlock it, and it was kind of an ordeal. But I did have access to a kitchen, so I had my little schedule. I would go on certain days, meal prep my chicken or whatever it was, and then take it back to my room, put it in my fridge. So between that, the stuff I would buy at the store, and my salad bar that I used at my like the dining hall, I was able to get by. Again, was it ideal? Absolutely not. And honestly, to this day, I think back and I'm like, Lexie, how did you even do it? But again, it's one of those things, I was choosing to do it. You know, I had 2 other girls living in my room with me. Neither of them were bodybuilders. Neither of them really worked out, but they accepted me for who I was and just didn't question me. But that is kind of how I got by with that. But I also wanted to touch on my period of time after my first show, and after that year of school, just really quickly. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I wanted to kind of be vulnerable and talk about a time in my life I've never really talked about. Mainly I'm just telling you guys this not to be a Debbie Downer, but just to, you know, show you guys that I'm human. And if you're somebody out there who's struggling or going through a dark phase like this, like, you're not alone. I've been there, and I know that I may come across as a very peppy person in most of my videos and most of the time. However, like, I definitely have my times as well. And after I competed in my first show, you know, I moved home that summer afterwards because it was summer break, and my mom was very concerned because I, you know, obviously had gotten stage lean, and she just didn't understand. Like, she thought I had something wrong. So she thought something was wrong with me. And so she sent me to the doctor. The doctor was obviously very concerned to see I had lost that much weight. And just nobody really understood or was willing to really hear me out, like when I would try to explain like what I was doing, what the sport entailed. Now granted, I probably got way too lean, lesson learned, but it was just a very dark time in my life because I felt like I was like essentially my mom, my doctors, like they were all so concerned about me, which I understand completely, but I felt like it was kind of me against the rest of the world, and nobody was really letting me like explain, you know, the sport and what was going on. So I kind of fell into probably, I would say, a depression. That was the saddest I've ever been in my life. Like, it was for those 3 months that I lived back at home before I went back to school that I was just not myself. Like I even had family members, like my grandma asking like, you know, if I was okay, or telling my mom, you know, like Lexie seems depressed. And I mean, honestly, I was at the time. I felt like I didn't have a future in this sport because of what had happened, you know, with my mom forcing me to go to the doctor, and then the doctors like, you know, I had to get like my heart tested and all this stuff because the doctors were concerned about like the weight loss. And again, rightfully so, I understand. But it was just a very, very dark time in my life. And I just felt super depressed every day, and kind of like I was just going through the motions, right? And like the gym was really my only source of happiness. Didn't have a ton of friends, didn't hang out with friends that summer just because I was so sad. But on the bright side, because I don't want to end this video talking about something super dark and depressing, my mom is now one of my biggest supporters. And you know, for those of you guys who are listening who may be just getting into the sport and who are kind of worried about friends and family members supporting you, you know, I oftentimes find that when we start something new, our friends, our family, they're going to seem a little like they may be kind of concerned. You know, they see an extreme sport like this and then they question like, oh my gosh, is that healthy, blah, blah, blah. But I can tell you, and I am living proof that like my mom used to be somebody who did not support me in this sport at all. And now she's one of my biggest supporters. And that has truly just come from me teaching her what the sport entails, and also me proving to her that I know what I'm doing and I'm not doing this in an unhealthy manner, right? So that is where I want to end things here. But I oftentimes also overthink my videos and feel like I need to have like a really like thought out, like not scripted, but like thought out video where I have to like, you know, show food at least once or provide some value to you guys or whatnot. But I feel like that's part in my head. Like I feel like I need to stop overthinking videos so much and just come on here, speak from the heart sometimes. So I hope this video wasn't like boring or anything, and if you enjoyed it and you stuck around this long, thank you guys so much. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and if you're somebody out there who is considering prepping for a show, or just making fitness a part of your lifestyle and you are a college student, like let this story be proof that it can be done. It may not be the most ideal circumstance to start things with, but it can absolutely be done, and I'm living proof, and I'm so happy to answer any questions if you guys have any. But again, if you've stuck around for this long, thank you so much. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, comment below if there's anything that you want to see in the future, and I will catch you guys in the next video.